I guess my big question is, will we always need to get to that point of being so full? I mean, it's almost too much. Does that make sense?
Hey, what's up, family? I'm Rachel.
And I'm Joe.
And we are Two Crazy Ketos.
And if you're new to our channel, welcome. Here on Two Crazy Ketos, we do different things like recipe videos and we do product reviews. We talk about various keto topics, and every Monday, we go live on Keto Beyond the Couch, where we just kind of talk about what's going on in our lives for the week.
You can find us in different social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And we have a website, which is twocrazyketos.com, and that's where you're going to find all of our different recipes. Now, we do upload at least 5 new videos every single week, so make sure you subscribe to our channel.
And don't forget to hit the little bell icon, and that way, every single time we get to chat with someone so beautiful on our podcast, you'll be alerted to it.
So recently, we introduced a new format for our podcast, which if you are not listening to our podcast, we are now available on all your favorite podcast platforms like Spotify,
Audible,
Apple Podcasts,
iHeartRadio,
you name it, Google Podcasts, all of them. Just go ahead and search for Two Crazy Ketos. And while you're there, make sure you give us a 5-star review and leave a little review down below. Help us to get to the top.
Please, please, please.
But on our podcast, we do upload new podcasts every Tuesday and Friday. And we've started a new series called the Keto Audit.
And it just gives us an opportunity to talk to some people in the Two Crazy Ketos family that have been doing keto, and maybe they just have some obstacle, some challenge that they're trying to traverse. You know, they got the basics down. They know we mostly eat meat.
Yep.
They've gotten eat meat down.
That's right.
But maybe there's still a challenge and they want a little help.
Yeah. So on the Keto Audit Podcast, we basically ask some people to go ahead and sign up if you're interested. And we will basically do like a little bit of a coaching thing on one issue that you may be having. And this last week, we actually had the opportunity to do a podcast interview with Lisa,
who is awesome. She is on our Mighty Networks. You don't want to miss out on unfriending her. Absolutely. I think her last name is spelled Chrz.
Mm-hmm.
And if I say it, I will say it wrong. So Lisa in Mighty Networks, definitely want to friend her. She's always so encouraging. We got to meet her in person at the Hard to Kill Summit in Omaha, which I was so grateful for because we got to hang out with her and her amazing husband. But yeah, so she was the first person to sign up for the keto audit.
Yeah. So in this keto audit, we discuss her journey on keto, why she decided to do beef, butter, bacon, and egg, some of the issues she's had, and how we can help her get to the finish line. So we decided that what we're going to start doing is if the video comes out well, we're going to try to turn these into some videos for you guys. So it's not just on our podcast, and they'll air a few days after the podcast first launches. So without further ado, we're going to turn it over to our Keto Audit Podcast with Lisa. Welcome to the Two Crazy Ketos Podcast,
where we help regular people like us make keto doable so it can become sustainable.
We're your host, Joe.
And Rachel.
And we are
the Two Crazy Ketos.
Welcome to another episode of the Two Crazy Ketos Podcast. And today, we're trying something a little different. We're going to do a keto audit, or as Rachel likes to call it,
a kick in the keto.
A kick in the keto.
Because I think that it's nice to just talk to people who are living out this keto life and talk about some of the struggles, some of the obstacles, and see if we can't help individual people just kind of traverse that little bump in the journey.
Yeah. So before we get started, we do want to invite you, if you are brand new, head down below, hit that subscribe or follow button. We upload new podcasts every Tuesday and Friday. And today, we actually have one of our subscribers. Her name is Lisa. And she has volunteered to come on, tell a little bit about her story, how she found keto, why she decided to do keto. And then also we're going to talk about some of the struggles that she's having. And she's actually in the middle of doing a beef, butter, bacon, and egg challenge with us. So welcome, Lisa.
We were able to meet Lisa at the Hard to Kill Summit in Omaha, actually get to see her face to face, which was such a precious privilege. Yeah, she's got the Hard to Kill shirt on right now. And it was such an interesting conference and such a blessing to get to see people face to face. And she has an incredible story. And so we thought maybe we could have her come on and share it. So Lisa, could you share a little bit about how you first came to keto?
Well, I started on keto because of weight loss. I had skyrocketed up to just a tenth below 270. So 269.9. And I knew I had to do something. I wanted to get on the ground, play with my granddaughter, and I couldn't do it. Um, I found keto in the checkout lane of the supermarket. And I discovered,
Wow.
yeah, there were just, I don't even know what magazine. There were several magazines and then little cookbooks and things like that. And I thought, you know what? I've tried absolutely everything else. I'm going to try this. And I lost over 100 pounds within probably 11 to 12 months. Um, the thing that I found out, though, is that I actually was calorie restricting with it. So I was doing keto successfully in one aspect, but I was doing the same thing I'd done all my life, cut out all the calories. So I was like in that 800 to 1200 range for my eating for the day. And I was eating lots of little bitty things, throughout the day. I was a snacker. Um, so that was pretty successful staying on that for 2 years. Then COVID hit, and I was a school teacher, and I actually was teaching online, second graders online, and I slowly started gaining the weight back because, the refrigerator was right there. I'd take a break, go to the refrigerator, take a break, go to the refrigerator. So I slowly added my weight back on, probably 30 or 40 pounds that I gained back. And I just officially started back on keto at the end of June. And I've lost probably about 20, 25. I'm not sure exactly, but it's it's been hard because I started out again with that calorie restriction, but then you were letting me know that that's not okay. I wasn't getting my energy, so that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is that forcing myself to eat?
I love the fact that you mentioned you found keto through the checkout line.
Me too.
Because people message us or I see people post online, when you have those magazines, especially like recently Dr. Berry was in like Woman's World. And, usually they put this like eye-catching title, like lose 50 pounds in 10 days. And I've seen people say like, well, that's like taking away from keto and it's not true and it makes keto look like a fad diet. But my feeling is if that gets somebody to pick it up and go, maybe there's another way, it is worth it. Like people have asked us like, why are you guys doing a podcast? Because there's somebody out there right now who doesn't watch YouTube. And if we can connect with them, I'm willing to do something else because our goal is to change the world, as Rachel says, one ribeye at a time.
Yeah, I think it's really important for us to have that message out. And then people can research the diet for themselves,
Right.
This way of eating. If you see something like Dr. Berry on the front of a cover and you're thinking, lose 20 pounds before we get to the parking lot, like, yes, but then when you actually go and seek out Dr. Berry and you watch some videos or, you read some material, you find the truth, of how to actually live it out day by day. So it's not like the true story gets lost. You do your own research and you find out the truth.
So you mentioned the first time around you did calorie restricting and you came back in now and you started with calorie restricting.
Mm-hmm.
And, we've talked all the time about that counting calories doesn't work. And there's a lot of people who disagree. but they don't hear the second part when we say, but calories do matter. It's just not all calories are the same. So what made you change your mind and go like, hey, I need to stop calorie restricting?
Just hearing other people talking about how you need energy. And if you're calorie restricting, you are not giving your body the fuel it needs to actually burn the fat. So
Mhm.
that's kind of where I was. And it's actually working, maybe not on the scale of, although I haven't weighed for a week now, but definitely in how my clothes fit.
People think because we've had this ingrained in our mind that like, oh, it's all about calories in, calories out. It's all about, move more, eat less. And if you even look at it from the basic stance that doesn't work. If you move more and you eat less and you stop giving your body energy, at some point, it's a pretty efficient machine. It's going to be like, oh, wait a second, you're moving more. Let me slow other things down. But as you begin to stop the calorie restricting and just start looking at the proper foods and start looking at giving the proper amount of fuel and the right types of fuel, all of a sudden you're eating more than you were before, but you're losing weight. And you're like, wait a second, what's going on? This is completely against what everybody else in the world is saying.
Absolutely. It's definitely a mind shift.
And it's hard to let go of the way that we used to eat. And I think that a lot of us, I mean, me included, brought in calorie restriction to start off with keto and just replace it with keto food. So yeah, I think it's important for us to just kind of shift our mind, but we need to find what we feel like is safer food, right? It's easier to trust the process when you're like, okay, this is safe food to eat. And that kind of brings us to the Triple B and E challenge that you're currently on, where you have a very small grocery list, beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, but you're eating a bunch of this food. It's definitely going to be something that is high in calories, to a certain extent. And what are you seeing as you've started this challenge?
I think my biggest struggle so far has been the whole aspect of listening to my body of when I'm actually hungry, because that was nothing that I did. Not real hunger. And then also, we, um, when is real full? And once you get to that real full, I don't necessarily like it. It's like too much. So trying, it's like, how long do I have to do that? Because I don't like it very much.
What we'd like to do is coach you a little bit through it to talk about some of the struggles and see if we can help you really be successful on beef, butter, bacon, and egg. And so for those of you who may be listening who don't know what beef, butter, bacon, and egg is, it is a challenge. It's designed as a 90-day challenge, but our community is doing it as a 30-day challenge right now, where you eat nothing but beef, butter, bacon, and eggs as much as you want, as many times a day as you want, so long as each time you eat, you have to eat until you're full. And it's designed to eliminate a lot of things as well as help you get in touch with your satiety, which it sounds like you are starting to do.
Yes.
But I'm curious to get into like really helping you through it. What made you to decide to do beef, butter, bacon, and egg? Because you were already having success on just standard keto. What made you go, hey, let me try this?
Part of it was I really wanted to find out what things that I was eating were actually triggering me, maybe to eat more, or in a bad way, or that were causing me like stomach distress, intestinal distress. What do I need to, maybe things that don't agree with me that I need to cut out totally. That's what drew me to this particular challenge.
What were some of the ingredients that you kind of suspected were culprits going into this challenge?
So probably, I wonder about some of the dairy, not all of it, but some of the dairy, like maybe cheese, heavy whipping cream. Are those causing me problems? I probably would think some of the sweet stuff. So there's lots of keto treats out there, and I thought that going from the standard American diet to keto, oh, I have to have that sweet treat, just to reward myself. But do I really? And that's kind
Right.
of where I'm at. Which ones of those sweeteners are really bad for me? And do I really need them in my diet?
I think that, when I look at our journey and we talk about all the time, I am not against the keto treat so long as we're really investigating the ingredients, because I think that they do help somebody new coming into keto. It gives somebody this thing of being able to look at it and go, okay, I don't have to give up, never having a cookie again. I don't have to give up cake. You have to put it in the right place, but at least they know that it's like not never again. It's not like I'm going to never again have one of those things. But we also have to put them in their place. But the thing is that as we move along in our diet, we start recognizing things. And it's not that the keto treats are necessarily good, but it's like, as Dr. Barry says, they're less bad. But they can still interfere with us because they can interfere with us really being in touch with our satiety. They could make us snack. They could make us binge. So eliminating them for a little while definitely can help us.
I just want to applaud Lisa, because I think a lot of people think to themselves, like, I wonder if these things are affecting me. I think maybe these things are affecting me. But we don't take time to eliminate in order to authentically investigate the situation. I see a lot of people, just trying to like monitor things with like a glucose monitor. They're checking their ketones all of the time, but it really takes silencing all of those things for a minute to get that back to the basics keto, to authentically investigate, is this thing affecting me? Is this affecting my thoughts? Is this affecting the choices that I'm making in a day? Am I boredom eating these things? You have to take it down to zero and have a clean slate in order to authentically investigate things. But a lot of people are not willing to do what Lisa's doing. And that is, yep, I'm going to get rid of everything I love right now. And I'm going to take time to keep it simple and really test, where is my satiety and what things do I authentically need in my everyday life.
Yep. So moving into beef, butter, bacon, egg, what was your biggest fear?
My biggest fear is that I get sick of it. Our regular diet, whether it's keto or standard American, you have so much variety. And I was afraid, oh, what if I get sick of it? But there is enough there. And it really does start tasting better and better each day. So I don't get bored.
I think that's one of the things about, as we eliminate the sweeteners, our tastes change. You don't realize it until you get rid of it for a little while, how much those sweeteners are affecting our taste buds. Like all of a sudden, like my dessert is literally 2 tablespoons of butter with salt on it, and it tastes like candy to me. Like I would have never been like, hey, I just want to eat some butter. But now that I've eliminated the flavors in that butter just come through. And then when you put a little bit of Redmond salt on there, it just elevates it. But it took eliminating the sweeteners to really accomplish that.
We were talking a little bit before we started this podcast about how Triple B and E is so simple that you stay out of the kitchen a lot more than you do when you're even cooking regular keto. And I wanted to ask you, how has your day and your schedule and your time management changed in this challenge because of the simplicity of Triple B and E?
Well, now we are actually doing a lot of meal prep where we won't grill 2 hamburgers. We will actually grill like 15 pounds of hamburgers, and we will grill a brisket overnight or smoke a brisket overnight. And I will do my eggs in the Instant Pot and have 2 dozen eggs ready to go. And it just, I did my bacon. I did 4.5 pounds of bacon chips and 4.5 pounds of strips and ate them in a week. So it's a different amount of time in a different way. So you do it all at once and then you have such freedom because all you have to do is sit down and eat when you're hungry and then eat until you're full, and that just it just simplifies life. And boy, do we need to
Yeah.
simplify life.
So you mentioned eating till you're full, and you mentioned that is one of the things that you're struggling with. So let's talk about that a little bit, because I know that on the questions that we had sent you ahead of time, one of the things you said that you struggle with macros. And one
Yeah.
of the greatest things about beef, butter, bacon, egg is there is no macros. We're not counting anything. We're not measuring anything. We're not weighing our food. We don't have to put anything into chronometer. It's literally eat beef, butter, bacon, and egg until you are full. So hopefully beef, butter, bacon, egg is helping you accomplish the whole macro thing where you never have to look at macros unless you want to eat a whole bunch of like outside junk, like, lots of keto treats. Then we have to start looking at stuff. But um, has it helped you with eating until you're full? Because I know you mentioned before that, okay, I'm not liking this aspect of it.
So I mean, I love having everything simplified. Um, and I definitely love not having to do the macros, and I love not having to weigh my food because that I think was taking up a lot of my energy. It's just I get to that point of fullness and that Thanksgiving stuffedness, if that's a word, and it hurts. You're uncomfortable, and but yet it is really nice. You know that you're not going to eat anything else because you are so full.
Have you experienced that before? Like just on regular keto, have you gotten to that point where you were just like, okay, I'm good? Or were you eating to the macros?
I was eating to the macros, definitely. It's like, oh, wow, I've got 60 protein. I've got to eat more of my protein, and I have 130 fat. Okay, well, maybe that's a little skewed there. So yeah, and I was always so proud of myself. I'd have my low carbs, but then I would have just this big skew in my other macros, and kind of coming to grips with that, it was hard. So this I appreciate because it's more one to one.
One of the things that our brain loves is planning things. We love to plan. And I think that sometimes we even plan feeling full. And we have a lot of joy in thinking like, this is going to be so great. I'm going to be really happy when I'm full. Let me think about all of the food that I'm going to put together on this plate to make that happen. And then, yeah, when you actually feel full, here we are at the party, we're feeling full. And it's not what we expected. It's just like anything that we plan. A lot of times we plan a party, we plan a trip to Disney World. The fun is in the planning. But when we get to it, we're like, wait a second, the kids are not as perfect acting as I imagined when I was booking the hotel room. And, it's hotter than I imagined when I was, thinking that it was going to be just beautiful weather when we were here. It rained. That wasn't part of the plan. And I think it's the same thing when we are planning to be full. We think that all the joy in life will happen when our stomach is like distended. We're going to be fat, nasty, full, but we're going to be super happy about it. And I think it's important for us to go ahead and get what we planned for once, which is I plan to be full and now I am full. And now I get to authentically think about what is my reaction to that? How do I feel about actually being full? Now that you know what really full feels like, will that change how you plan your meals moving forward?
I hope so. I hope so. I guess my big question is, will we always need to get to that point of being so full? I mean, it's almost too much. Does that make sense? I just need to figure out what is that step before being so overstuffed. I want to be full, but I don't want to be stuffed.
So one of the things that you can do with that, because we obviously don't want to get to the point where we're sick. You want to get there once or twice and be like, oh, okay, yeah, I don't like that feeling, which I think you've discovered that now. Yeah, I don't like that feeling. Like, I can't stand that feeling. And one of the things that I found in myself that causes that is eating too quickly. And so what ends up happening is it takes about 10 or 15 minutes for our stomach to actually let our brain know, like, hey, I've had enough here. But for myself, because I have removable dentures and I don't like to chew because it's not as comfortable as for someone who would have like their full set of teeth, I tend to not chew as much.
Okay.
But what happens is when we chew our food, our body creates saliva, and that saliva helps with the digestive enzymes. It also makes things take longer, which gives your stomach time to let your brain know, like, hey, I've had enough. So one of the things that we have to look at when we're eating, if we're getting to that feeling, but we're like, oh, I haven't eaten, I've eaten too much, is maybe starting to slow down. Like Rachel's got a great trick with chopsticks.
Yeah, chopsticks, using different utensils that I'm not as comfortable with really helps, because I do have all my teeth, the originals, and I still hork down my food. I think that is a challenge. Do you find that you eat quickly?
I've slowed down and I do chew more because I'm really trying to do that. But I was a teacher. I'm a retired teacher. Um, and we didn't have but just a few minutes to eat if we were going to eat lunch. It was either you don't eat or you just like shovel it in because you have to go pick up those kids again. And so I think it's a habit. I mean, even when you're a student, a little kid, and you're at school, you just have a few minutes to eat. You don't have a long period of time. So society has trained us that you need to just
That's right.
shovel it down and be done with it.
Mhm.
So I will work on that. I will definitely work on that. I mean, yes, I have tried that 20 to 30 chews per bite. Sometimes I get there, sometimes I don't, but maybe even putting my fork down in between bites would be a good thing for me. I don't know.
One of the things that I think Dr. Sivas talks about that we love is preparing extra food, but putting it off to the side.
Okay.
So that really will begin to give you this feeling of like, am I wanting to eat just because I want to eat, or am I authentically like hungry? So for example, like our breakfast today, I had 4 eggs, Rachel had 3 eggs, but then, I'm like, well, is 3 eggs enough food for Rachel? So we keep off to the side some hard boiled eggs, some prepped eggs and things like that. So if after she's done, she's authentically like, hey, I'm still hungry, she gets up and goes and gets some of those eggs. But again, that allows things to slow down. So you're not just like looking at your plate and horking it down because it's on your plate, but it gives you enough time to, okay, well, I've got to go over there. And that's that time that allows your stomach to really let your brain know, like, nope, you're still hungry. Or by the time you get over there, it'll be like, no, you're done.
I really love that Lisa brought up the teacher schedule, because I think that is going to speak to a lot of people. A lot of people have this kind of really slammed lunch hour where they're trying to, get their food in, but also get what they need to accomplish done in a very small amount of time. Even if they give you 30 minutes, that whole 30 minutes, you don't have that to eat. You have to go to the bathroom, especially if you're a teacher, like you need to, if you need to run an errand, make a phone call, like everything has to be done in those 30 minutes. I think it's the same for a lot of nurses and different medical professionals. We're hearing that more and more. So the schedule doesn't change. So we need to work to the schedule. So if that's it, we need to make different plans. And I think that some people say to themselves, well, that would mean I need to do more at breakfast, or I need to eat differently at dinner, so that lunch hour, maybe I eat a smaller meal because I only have this much amount of time. And we need to go ahead and try to budget our meals to the issue. Because I think people are just like, well, there's nothing we can do and it's always going to be terrible. So I won't try, and I'll continue just trying to hork down food. So we have to deal with the schedule. The other thing that I love is you talking about retiring. So that was your schedule before, and now is a beautiful opportunity to leverage transition. If there's something that you don't like to do anymore, now's the time to change it. I told my parents that when my father was retiring. I said, this is a great time. You guys have been married like 30 years to decide if there's something that you don't want to continue doing, even in your marriage, now's the time to have that discussion because we're going to leverage change. So it's the same thing for if you're retiring and you have a certain eating schedule, you have a certain sleep schedule, go ahead and say, okay, what do I want to change about my schedule? I do need to change it in some way.
Right.
And that's a positive thing.
So when it comes to you're worked on that and you're starting to recognize you're full, you can start dialing it back. What you were trying to do in eating to that Thanksgiving stuffedness, as you called it, the whole idea was trying to find what is that point where like, hey, I don't like this. And what we want to do is stop eating like right before it. And I think, is that what you're still trying to discover, that right before?
Yes, definitely.
So I think slowing down might help with that because it'll give your stomach a chance to let your brain know like, hey, okay, it's coming. What has been the biggest shock for you so far after a week of beef, butter, bacon, and egg?
The biggest shock would be, well, my husband has, even though he said he wasn't going to do it, he's been actually pretty close to doing it with me. Not 100%. I mean, he can't give up the yogurt. He loves that yogurt. And I'm okay with it because he's really changed his diet 100%. So to me, if he's having some of those kind of treats, is like, you know what? Go for it. I'm okay with it. I'm gonna do the challenge as authentically as I can. I want to see if I can gain some more of the mental health benefits of going, keto. I figure that carnivore is going to be helping me even more. I don't know. It's a struggle all my life with mental illness, depression, anxiety, family members who have mental illness. And this is a different aside, but I really enjoyed talking to Chris Palmer at the conference. I mean, just the hope he holds out to people, and being a teacher, how many kids and teachers and parents I saw who struggle with mental illness on a daily basis. It's just amazing. So I that's where I'm at right now. Gain some mental health benefits. It's, yeah, the weight loss is a benefit, the side benefit, but I really want to get the mental health benefits.
When it comes to your beef, butter, bacon, egg journey, are you finding that you're eating more food than you were before?
Absolutely. I think so, because I was so calorie restricting before, um, and I was having a hard time making sure that I got decent calories. I mean, even pushing it up to 1,500, I was like, "Oh, this is too much food. I can't do that." But now I don't know what my calorie intake is, but I will sit down and eat, two massive hamburgers with, just slathered in butter with and have bacon chips on the side. I'm going, I have permission to eat all this. This is awesome. Until I get to that
Mhm.
feeling
It
of
really
drunkenness.
is.
You're my hero, Rachel, because you gave me permission.
Oh my gracious. It's my great pleasure. And I, really echo everything that you're saying. I needed to know what full was. I needed to have confidence in the food I was eating. I needed to stop calorie restricting. And I too have really enjoyed this exploration of what keto can do for mental health. And if that means that maybe I have less variety on my plate than other people do on a more regular basis, and yet I feel so different in my mind and body, it makes it where I'm okay with that. I am okay if I have a limited amount of ingredients that work best for me, and yet I can accomplish the things that I know that I've been put on this earth to accomplish, and I can feel good every single day and enjoy my life. What are some things that you are enjoying about your life that's outside of food?
So I've gotten more involved with ladies at my church, trying to kind of pour into them. I've started doing like a card ministry where I I send cards out for birthdays and anniversaries, and then when I see somebody having a really bad day, then I'll uh, write them out a little card telling them that I think of them and what I think is special about them. I spend more time reading my Bible, talking about those things with my family, and just really trying to focus on what is important. What do I want to spend my time on, period? Yes, I love to exercise, go kayaking or something like that. But I don't do that 24/7, do I? So I need to find things that I do every day, and those are things I do every day. And I think I'm enjoying my husband more even, we sit down and have conversations more instead of just being, like, "Oh, I gotta go do this. I've got to do this. I haven't done this." Taking time, we've slowed down a little bit, and it's awesome.
So you have about 3 weeks left on beef, butter, bacon, and egg.
Mhm.
Is there anything that you're worried about before you finish?
I don't know yet. I like not having to weigh myself, just knowing that I'm not supposed to weigh myself is awesome, because then I'm not focused on a number, and I love that. I don't really wanna go back to counting macros and counting numbers, and so I think that when I get through with all of this, there's gonna be a big change in how I, actually deal with my food. It's not I don't want it to consume me. I want it to just be kind of a side note. I don't want it to be, "Oh, I have to do this."
That is a really great dialogue that you've begun with yourself, because I think that we see keto as like there's a book and we have to follow the directions of the book perfectly, and we see everybody else is doing it the same way. Maybe they're very fixated on macros, and that means I have to be fixated also. Maybe they're weighing stuff, or they're intermittent fasting, or they're skipping breakfast. Whatever it is, we think we have to do the same thing everybody else is doing. And that's something great about this elimination diet. You're eliminating all of the chatter. You're eliminating, you're very aware that you're doing keto right now different than the majority of people doing keto. So for this 30 days, you're able to say, hey, even if I'm in a keto Facebook group, or if I'm watching a keto YouTuber, or I'm reading a magazine article about keto, I have permission to not do it the way they're doing it right now. I've taken a time out. But I think it is important moving forward to say, even after these 30 days are over, I don't have to do keto like everybody else is doing it. I can still participate in chats. I can still be in conversation. I can go to conferences. I can meet people. I can read articles, and I can enjoy it, but I don't have to replicate what they're doing. And I think that's a very powerful thing about this challenge as well, is you're going to come out from this going, okay, I know my hunger is different than everybody else. I know that what my preferences are for food may be different than everybody else, and that's okay. And it's hard for us to get to the "and that's okay," because being social, we kind of want to mimic what everybody else is doing. And do you feel like it's helping you to have more confidence even when you go out with like a ladies group, or attend a church potluck, or as you approach the holidays? Do you think that it's going to help give you permission to do things differently?
Yeah, I think that I have done things differently, so that is a huge challenge. We have potlucks at church. We have meals that are prepared. I cooked 50 pounds of chicken um, on Saturday for a wedding reception, and I didn't eat any. So because I couldn't. So, but you know what? I felt good about it. People thought it was a little weird, but I felt good about it because it's like I ate before I went and I didn't have to worry about, oh, well, I'm starving and everybody else is eating. No, I just make sure that I am full before I go somewhere and then I'm good.
You've been doing our 30-day course on Mighty Networks. What has been like the biggest thing that you've looked at and been like, this is awesome? Like, this has really been a huge benefit. Is there anything that the course has helped you with? And is there anything that you were like, oh, I wish I could get this much more out of the course? So we're using you as a little bit of like, how can we make it better?
So let's see, what one of your first things, excuse excuse slayer, wasn't that? Okay. Um,
Mhm.
I like that. That is like, that spoke to me, being an excuse slayer. I don't allow myself to make excuses about why I'm doing something. It's like I really am trying to look for the positive in everything. And when I catch myself being negative, or my husband catches me being negative, then I look for the positive. Kind of that thing of anytime you say something negative, you need to come up with at least 5 things that are positive.
That is a really important point. Yeah, because I think it's good for us to take our thoughts captive, to not pronounce over our day it's going to be terrible, it's going to be awful, this is going to be hard. It doesn't help anything, it doesn't change any circumstances. It just impacts our resolve for sticking to it. So, yeah, that's something that our kids do a lot. If you say something negative about yourself, you have to come up with 5 things positive. And after you're kind of almost aggravated, like, I don't want to come up with 5 things I like about myself. But I think that that's a really important exercise. And it also trains you to stop talking negative because there's a consequence to it, right? You know, if we had a swear jar and you said a naughty word and you put money into it, now you're like, I better change the way I'm speaking. So it's the same way. I mean, it's just as undermining for us to talk negative about ourselves. That is almost like we should see it as a swear jar situation, like, because that's very undermining to our day and to our resolve to stick to a challenge.
Do you have any suggestions to make things better?
You would ask me that. Ask me in 3 weeks. I really love that you are putting something new out there almost daily on the actual chat. Okay. That's not I don't know if that's part of the course or not, but
That is
is
part of
it?
the
Okay.
course, yes.
So I really love that. And all the information you're giving about vitamins that we're getting in this nutrient dense food is amazing. It's like, oh, well, the next time somebody tells me that I'm trying to kill myself, I have something to tell
Mhm.
them. I'm really not. Uh,
Right.
so I appreciate that. I also appreciate that I can talk to other people who are doing the same challenge and seeing where they're at. So like today I put on, has anybody else gotten severely bug bitten? Because for some reason the bugs love me right now and I've never had that problem before. So it was just kind of fun hearing what other people say. So you get to do life with people that you never knew before, and it's been awesome.
And that was a big intent for us in creating it. Was it's one thing to be able to just go through a course, no matter what it is, and learn something and help you progress. But as we talk about all the time, sharing your story is super important. Community is super important. I don't think you can't do life without community. And it's very difficult to be on a keto carnivore journey without community because we have so many people in our personal lives who don't understand it, right? We have our doctors, our friends, our family members, our coworkers who are all like you just said, like, this is going to kill you. I mean, I had a butcher say that like I'm going to have an early grave because I'm eating a pound of bacon a day. So when you get community together, it really helps. And that was one of the biggest things that we wanted. We're like, how can we create a course where you can get a bunch of people who are going through it, be able to encourage each other and talk about their struggles so long as there's not negativity. Like one of the rules of the course is if you have something negative like this sucks, you have to private message us, but don't put it in the group because you don't want to have this comment of like, I hate this, start spooling into this giant ball of everybody else. Yeah, I hate this too. But with all of the positivity, and that's one of the things I love. I love seeing all of your posts asking people like, hey, how are you doing? Or putting up food pictures. And it's really been an amazing experience for us too, as the creators of the course. Mm-hmm. So before we end the podcast, we have 3 questions we like to ask guests, mostly about your keto journey, but you can apply it to your beef, butter, bacon, egg journey as well. So the first question that we want to ask you is, when you got started, what was the biggest struggle?
When I started keto the first time, the biggest struggle was giving up my favorite foods, such as pizza, pasta, bread. But then I started realizing as I went on, you know what? It's not really those foods that I love so much. It's what I'm putting on them. If you give me a big old stick of butter that I can plop on something, I can just eat that butter and be fine. Because, that's what I did. I'd have a slice of bread and just layer it on really thick, and people thought I was totally nuts. And which is okay. I don't care. So that would probably be my biggest struggle, was the food itself.
That is an important thing to kind of note, because that was very true for me as well. I liked food as a butter conveyance. Also, normally I didn't even put tomato sauce on spaghetti. I put butter on spaghetti. Same thing with the bread and everything. So yeah, we eliminated one of those conveyances. Even with rice, same thing. I was really just loading it up with butter because I enjoyed salty butter. So now I can still have salty butter without all of those other things. That's really good. So what has been your biggest surprise on keto?
Probably the health benefits that I've gained from doing keto. So inflammation, gone for the most part. If I over-exercise, then of course, you get those aches and pains, but
you're supposed to get
those. Exactly. It tells you that you did some work. So the inflammation, the mental clarity, better sleep. It didn't start out that way, but I'm getting better sleep. I think those are the major things. My husband even, within a month of doing keto, he was actually off most of his diabetes medicine, and just feels so good. He was plus 400, and yeah, he's losing weight. He's doing good, and I just love to see him get healthier. It's amazing. So thank you, keto.
Okay, so last question. If you meet somebody who's brand new, they're just getting started on keto, and I'm sure there's somebody listening right now, like they're in their first week. What is your biggest recommendation for them for getting started?
Pretty much, and I've told a few people this, get rid of all the processed stuff, get rid of the sugar, and those right there are going to help you tremendously. So when I first started recommending things, I was like, oh, you have to do this and this. It's like, no. That's not important. The important thing is they're getting the junk out of their diet and actually being healthy. So that's what I would say.
It brings kind of a pace of grace to the whole process. Sometimes if we think to ourselves, this is the 10-point list that we need to begin with, we can really quickly overwhelm ourselves. And if we think that we're not doing those 10 or 15 things perfectly, then we may want to quit altogether, right? Especially if we kind of struggle with a perfectionist type of attitude. So I think that's really important. That's a simple way that you can get started and have some good results.
Yeah, I even look at my keto journey. You know, we had talked earlier about the keto treats and stuff. They didn't exist when I started keto. There was a lot of recipes for home stuff like mug cakes and things like that. And I heavily relied on that stuff. But as I said, if you would have told me you're never having that stuff again, it definitely would have been like, yeah, peace out. I'm not doing that. You know, I have kind of gravitated towards having that as an occasional treat now, as opposed to originally it was every day. But at the same point, like when I got started, it was, yeah, let's just eliminate that stuff. And people will ask all the time, like, what do I do? And I'm like, just don't eat that stuff for a little while. We'll worry about how much to eat later. So your recommendations between the first one and the third one, they all come together. And I think that that's how somebody will really have success. Like, don't worry about how much protein, how much fat and all that in the first couple of weeks. Just focus on getting rid of that other stuff. If we're used to eating, 200, 300, 400 carbohydrates a day, dropping it down to 50 or 100 is going to make a huge impact in our lives. So, and that's easily accomplished by just getting rid of all the processed foods when we first start.
And then people are going to have pretty well immediate results because you are slashing the carbs, not the calories. You're slashing the carbs very dramatically.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Lisa. It's been an interesting conversation. I love seeing all of your results. I do want to say I'm super proud of you for what I think is the hardest thing on the beef, butter, bacon, and egg challenge, and that is to stay off the scale. That is a hard thing for most people. I know it's like hard for us. Like we've had to hide the scale, because Rachel will be like, where's the scale? And like, it's hidden. Like, well, you have to like give it to somebody else. Like hide this thing because it is such a hard thing to do. But that scale could really be a detriment to us if we're like eating not the way we're used to. And then all of a sudden you get on the scale and we've talked about it can change within the day. And if you see a number that you don't like, make you quit. So I want to applaud you for staying off of that scale.
Yes. An authentic experiment. You are controlling the variables. You're controlling, what the outcome will be because you are truly authentically experimenting because you can't see what the number is. And that's not guiding you or directing you throughout the month. Do you see why we love Lisa?
She's awesome.
And why you need to get into the Mighty Network so you can get to hang out with her more? Because she's awesome.
Yeah. And don't forget, Mighty Networks is completely free. There's a link down below. Some people have chosen to support our channel with one of the paid memberships, but there is a complete free membership. That's where 95% of everything happens anyway. Lisa is in there. But one of the things that I loved is when we were talking to Lisa, she found keto from the magazine stand in the grocery store.
I feel like there's so many ways you can learn about keto.
That's right.
Right? I mean, and it's all good. Whatever it takes to put keto on a person's radar, I'm all about it.
That's why we're doing podcasts now.
Yeah.
Right. Our whole thing with podcasts is if we can reach one person that isn't watching a YouTube video, then it is worth it. And I'm excited about that. And I'm excited about this new series for Keto Audit. Hopefully we gave Lisa those little tidbits that she needs to get over the hump now that she's learned what fat, nasty, full feels like, or as she called it, Thanksgiving stuffedness.
That was perfect.
She could now dial that back a little bit, and now she'll be able to get to the fullness feel full to get her to the next meal without getting to that, ooh, I'm going to be sick kind of feeling.
Yeah, because you have a rest of the day.
Yeah. So if you are interested in doing one of our keto audits, there is actually a link down below where you can go ahead and sign up. Now, I do want to say that in order to do the keto audit, you have to be willing to be recorded on audio and video. And you do need to do it with some headphones to have the best clarity, because we do tell people we can't promise that it's going to actually air, because it really comes down to is what is the quality of the audio and the video. But we are really excited about the series because our hope is that this series will answer questions that I know a lot of people are having. And so I know there are a lot of people out there right now that listen to the podcast or just watch this video and we're like, oh, I had that same problem. And now hopefully your problem is answered and you can get past that obstacle.
So if you're interested in getting a keto audit for yourself, go ahead and check down in the description. We'll link a link for that, as well as some information on all of our coaching services.
Yeah. Now, if you like seeing videos like this, take a look at some of the videos that we have linked right over there. Also, make sure you take a look at our most recent video that I'm going to put right over here.
But whether you head this way or you head this way, don't forget to head this way. Subscribe to our channel and click the little bell icon. And that way, every single time we chat with someone super cool, you'll be alerted to it.
Till next time.
Bye.